his time to actually understand what happened in the banking sector. Some atrocious things happened. And this is why these banks had to be saved. They were not collapsed, they were merged into other banks. And we know banking depositor lost 1 cedi. Everybody maintained. But you had very bad things happening. You know, some of the banks broke all the rules and extended loans way above the single obligor limits. They were given, in some cases, 1 billion cedis by the Bank of Ghana to help them get out of the mess. And they only got deeper into the mess. Another bank was giving capital to save the situation, was giving money from the Bank of Ghana's lender of last resort facility. And they used that money to go and set up Capital Bank instead of rescuing the problem that they had. They took the money from the central bank and went to set up another bank, which was also collapsing. Some took money and went and invested in private property. So it was against this background when the governor came to report, and this was one of my nightmares as in the last 8 years. I couldn't sleep that night, that the banking system, most people didn't understand how close we were to a collapse of the entire banking system. But we were this close because all it would have taken was for a few depositors to go to UT Bank or UMT and they'll tell you there's no money. What would happen? There would have been a complete run on the banking system in Ghana. We would have collapsed the banking system. When the governor came to report that we were on the verge of collapse, decisions have to be taken to save the banking system and to save depositors. And this is how come we had to merge many of these banks into other banks. And we saved 4.6 million depositors. I'll ask the former president, if he hasn't read, to go and read the receiver's report or to go and read the Bank of Ghana report and acquaint himself before making any further comments on matters he clearly does not understand. He needs to get an understanding before you make comments. And you cannot hand over a bank's license to them. This is subject to legal procedure. You have to go to court. You don't have the power in our constitution to do that. And I'm surprised sometimes because he has been president before and he should know these things. He should know these things. He should know these things. Ladies and gentlemen, we have tripled the capitation grant per child since we came into office, from 5 cedis to 15 cedis. And what is interesting also is that we've had the lowest increase in electricity tariffs in recent history. Between his time, 2009, and 2016, when they were in office, the average annual increase in electricity tariffs was 50% a year. That's the average. Some of the years were 80%. Between 2009 and 2016, 50% average a year. In the last 8 years, the average increase in electricity prices has been 11.1%. This is the lowest average increase of any government since 1992. Any government since 1992. When we came in our first term, we abolished and reduced 21 separate taxes. And we reduced import duties by 50% between 2019 and 2021. 50% reduction in import duties. And that, of course, we had to go back on that when we got into the crisis. We introduced the National Rental Assistance Scheme to help to deal with this problem of rent advance. And it is one of the best schemes that we have seen. It has worked very well, and we are going to expand it for the rest of the country. We are going to put in serious money, because with that, you don't need to pay 2 years rent advance. We will pay the landlord, and you just pay monthly, and it's working, and of course, working with the private sector. Infant mortality under our government has come down from 37.9 in 2016 to 31.7. And in terms of LEAP, livelihood empowerment against poverty, we have increased payments almost tenfold, from 49 million that we used to pay every year to 423 million LEAP payments. Now, National Health Insurance, NHIS expenditure has also gone up from 1.1 billion to 6.8 billion. During COVID, we had free water for everybody for a year, and free electricity for lifeline consumers, and all of that. We brought in over 4 million beneficiaries now under school feeding, up from 1.6 million. We've absorbed the examination fees for all students of BC and WACC. People were sacked from examination centers for not paying examination fees before we came into office. We've doubled the number of student loan recipients from 30,000 to 58,000, almost double. We've also, of course, introduced mobile money interoperability to make almost every adult Ghanaian have a bank account through the Momo's account interoperability with the bank account. In fact, the whole of Africa, Ghana is the only country with 100% access to financial inclusion. 100%. The whole of Africa. Ghana is the only country with 100% access to financial inclusion. What is interesting is that when I first made a statement and I said Ghana was the first country in Africa to have mobile money interoperability between banks and Momo accounts, some people decided to fact check me, and they said that I was wrong. Just that they didn't understand the terrain, the fact checkers. So I took my time to explain to the fact checkers exactly what was happening in the field. Unfortunately, once they understood it, they didn't come back to withdraw. They just kept quiet. You know, today, when chalk was a problem, remember, chalk in our schools under the former president, when it was a problem. Today, we have acquired tablets to give to the students. Every senior high school student is getting a tablet that we are having. So I'm just putting some of these points together. You know, Agenda 111, so far we've built 47 hospitals, 428 CHIPS compounds, 230 health centers. I mean, that is massive. That's excluding Agenda 111. We've brought in drone delivery, and Ghana is now the whole world's, the largest medical drone delivery service in the whole world. We are leading the world. The ambulance service, which was collapsing, we've brought in one constituency, one ambulance, and we are making a lot of progress in that direction. So I think that, I mean, what is clear, and I don't have to go through every sector. The data, for me, I speak only with data. And the data is very, very clear that we have, our government, we have outperformed the government of former President Mahama in the management of the economy in virtually every sector. Virtually every sector. You tell me whether it's GDP growth, whether it's per capita income, whether it is industry growth. I mean, virtually every sector we have outperformed him. So he either does not read or he does not understand the data. He needs to do one of the two. Take his time to read the data and understand what it is before he comes out to speak, because he will speak out of ignorance. Because if you understand the data, and I believe that as a former president, he does understand the data. He must understand the data. And I believe that is why he doesn't want to debate me. I believe so. That is why he doesn't want to debate me. He's running away from that. So if, according to him, we have mismanaged the economy in the midst of a global crisis, if our mismanaged economy is outperforming you in virtually every sector, this economy that you are saying has been mismanaged. We are performing you in GDP growth, in per capita income, in gross international reserves, in every sector, roads, hospitals, schools, everything. Free SHS, all of that. If this is the mismanaged economy that is outperforming you in your economy that had no global crisis, no crisis at all, but you couldn't afford chalk. You couldn't afford chalk, but there was no crisis. So if our mismanaged economy is performing better than your better managed economy, then in that case, you must not have been very good. Let me put it mildly. I was going to say incompetent. Because our bad economy it's much better than your good economy. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So I think that the matter, I hope that this matter can be settled. There's no way he can say that his economy that he managed as president, by the way, I'm not yet president, in another 3 months, inshallah. Yeah, I mean, let us settle this matter. And you are members of the press. You read the data. You follow the data. You know the data. You know that we have done better than him. So why does he want to come back? I mean, it's like you go for an exam with someone in school. You score 70%, they score 30%. And they want to convince people that they are better than you. It doesn't make sense in that sense. So I seriously believe that statement, that we have failed. Of course, we've had challenges. Nobody can say we haven't had challenges. We have had challenges, serious challenges that have kept me up at night. In 2022, that was the horrible year for us, 2022. Petrol prices went up to 23 cedis per liter. We were losing reserves so badly, and you saw food prices going up and all of that. That was a real challenge that we had to deal with. And this is how we came up with the whole gold for oil, gold purchase program, and that has really helped us. Today, Ghana, notwithstanding all the challenges, we are the 10th lowest priced in terms of petroleum in Africa, the whole of Africa. Ghana is number 10 in those of lowest prices of petroleum products. We are number 10, 10th lowest. The lowest is Libya. Then you move through Egypt and Sudan and all of those to come to number 10, which is Ghana. Ghana, we are priced around 13, 14 cedis per liter right now. Cote d'Ivoire is priced 23 cedis per liter, as Hassan was just telling me earlier on when I asked. 10th lowest. We still want to bring it lower. But in 2022, at the time I announced the Gold for Oil program, when I said we had to attack this thing with gold for oil, the prices were 23 cedis per liter at that time. So we've had challenges. It's not, everything is not where we want it to be, but I believe that we can work better. But I don't think the former president can lecture us on economic management. He just cannot. His record would not allow him to lecture us on economic management. Is there anything you have disagreed with in this government? The issue when you sit in cabinet, you have collective responsibility. That is fundamental to governance. When we sit in cabinet, we argue on many, many issues, and everybody brings their mind. And sometimes your view prevails, sometimes it doesn't prevail. But once we take a decision, it is a collective decision. And so I cannot come out and say that the decision that we collectively took, I disagree with. No, I'm bound by it. That is the nature of cabinet responsibility. Fifth question had to do with the rising cost of living, and I'm very happy you are raising these issues on the EV, electric vehicles. You're right. One of the ways that we want to reduce the cost of living is through bringing in public transportation, the electric buses. And, so that is what is going on. We are bringing in about 100 to start with to essentially do the pilot for it. And the issue that you raise is a very, very fundamental one, which is the charging stations for these electric buses. And I must tell you that Metromass is working very, very hard as we speak to put in the charging stations. So we will have the charging stations in place by the time the buses get here. So that is clearly a very, very important one. The issue of green energy, whether you're going to try to bring in solar to charge these batteries, I think it is definitely going to be important. Because in general, if you read that particular chapter, I want Ghana to move towards solar power. And this is where I think we should be going. And this is why I want us to bring in 2,000 megawatts of solar power in the next 4 years to really bring down the cost of power. And we've seen some work already being done by Bawumia Power in terms of the solar area, but we're going to really expand it. So in terms of all these buses, all these government buildings, all the schools and so on, I want to move them all towards green energy, solar power, and I think that is where we should be going. I think that the other question was on job creation for the young people. I think that is at the heart of the manifesto, that you want to essentially move to create the environment and put in place the policies that will help business and that will help jobs, right? So that's why we're talking about bold solutions for business and jobs. I think that is so critical. And I think that there are many areas that we are touching on for the young people to get the jobs. I think that, I mean, the two are very linked, business and jobs. If you let businesses grow, then the jobs will also be created. And so we are looking at helping businesses grow by putting together implementing our legally backed Ghana First policy, so that the procurement by the public will be focused on things that are produced in Ghana first before they look outside. So that is a very important part of the policy mix that we are coming with. That will make people hire more, and we will get more jobs in that sense. We also have a major tax program of tax reform to make the business environment very, very good and easy to comply with. So we are bringing in a flat tax system as exists in Estonia. We are also bringing in a tax amnesty for business so that we can all start on a clean slate and move forward. We believe that, training the youth will be very, very important. So the investment that we are making in TVET will continue. The focus, we're setting up an open university with a focus on ICT, TVET, and also the whole STEM area as well. So we want to do that, but we also are trying to get our youth trained in digital skills. I have a program for 1 million youth to be trained in digital skills, which is a broad area of training for the youth, because the jobs these days are increasingly more in that space. And I think that we can have a situation where a lot of our youth are here and they are working, whether in America or the US or Canada, right from Ghana here and so on. So these are some of the areas that we think we're going to get going, the infrastructure area and so on, that will expand the economy so that we can create more jobs for our people. And of course, setting up the SME bank, setting up, the credit scoring system to allow people to get credit and move Ghana towards that system. We may have some time to talk more about some of these, but these are some of the areas we want to get the youth totally involved and empowered to get jobs. Thank you very much. I'll take the next set.
Thank you, Your Excellency. But at this point, Your Excellency, we are going to time you, because if we follow the former president, who talks, we are going to time you, just as we are going to time Bella Mundi at this point. Bella, please ask your question.
Good evening, and thank you so much for the opportunity. I was listening to you respond to some of the questions earlier, and one of my questions was touched on, so I guess I'll move on to the next one. But just to piggyback off job creation, one of the major aspects of job creation under the MPP is the NAPCO program. And quite recently, you would recall, sir, that they were threatening to go on a demonstration because they were owed 9 months arrears. Now, even Heal Ghana, and this is something I followed keenly, so I've had conversations with them. Heal Ghana, even before the 9 months, were owed 7 months. And so if you combine the two, they're complaining that they haven't been paid 16 months arrears. And that's a major problem. What do you intend to do about it? And if I can quickly, this was just a piggyback.
No, I have one question.
If I could just
so that Fianco can come. I'll come back to you.
Okay.
If there's the opportunity. Thank you, Fianco.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Excellency. I want to take my question from your manifesto for this year's election, and I'm looking at provide better health care for all. Now, you did mention that you were going to offer incentives for healthcare workers to buy 1 vehicle each with engine capacity up to 1.8 liter. Now, for clarity purpose, is it that these vehicles, they would buy them outside and they will be duty free? If that is it, we know we have about 5 automobile companies in this country. Your government brought them. How would this policy boost their production and also enhance the kind of people they would want to work with? Because if they are going to import these cars, we are not really helping them. Thank you, Your Excellency. I'm grateful.
Sheldon.
Hey, let me remove my cap. Before I proceed to ask my questions, I would like to emphatically state that these questions were not given to me by anyone here. They are from my head, so I'm going to ask. Now, Mr. Vice President, my name is Kojo Sheldon. I represent Kojo Sheldon Studios. The first one is about 322 pharmaceutical doctors on social media right now are planning on suing the health ministry about unpaid, allowances. Now, for someone that has highlighted in your manifesto that when voted into power, you are going to, improve or help improve the condition of services when it comes to, or conditions of service when it comes to our health people. For right now that you are the vice president, what can you do to help these pharmaceutical, doctors who are, contemplating on suing the Ministry of, Health? My second question borders.
No, Koyo. Don't do that to me.
Mr. Rao. The question.
You have one question.
Oh, boss.
One question.
So my question, the second question is about perception.
Don't do that.
Boss.
Don't do that.
Oh, bro.
Don't do that.
I
didn't allow
perception is very, very important.
I'll come back to you. Nane Akese. I'll come back to you. Nane Akese. Nane Akese of Peace FM.
Good evening, Your Excellency. My name is Nana Akese. I work with Peace FM. You have promised abolishing bed tax, e-levy, flat import duty, one-time tax amnesty, among others. If you really believe that that is what Ghana needs, why should we wait till you become the president and not implement it now?
Need to go to this. I see Samson Ladi.
Good evening, Your Excellency. So, my question is coming from a group of students on scholarship abroad. They are concerned that the Scholarship Secretariat is not doing what it has to do for them. At page 27 of your manifesto, you speak about harmonizing public scholarships. And there's a purpose for it. You say the purpose is to give full visibility. Beyond the visibility, what will you do about this now and not later? There are some of them, for 20 months, they have not received their stipends. In a number of universities in the UK, in Warwick, Coventry, Nottingham, they are under threat of losing their studentship. In Birmingham, 11 of them have already been withdrawn and they are facing deportation. Will you inquire, particularly knowing about the Fourth Estate's investigations dubbed Scholarship Bonanza, about what appears to be a racketeering in that place? And will you forbid and prohibit politically exposed persons wealthy enough, known in society, from accessing these scholarships? Thank you.
I think the question is very well. After, let me go to the regions. We've done plenty. Accra, Western North. Please give the microphone to the Western North guy. We've done Eastern, we do Western North, we would do the other regions as well.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Esposito Inokedusei. I work with the Beat FM. Somewhere in last year, the former President Mahama on his campaign tour in Western North region claimed Cocoa Board is on the verge of collapse. do you believe Cocoa Board has collapsed? And what is your plans for Cocoa Board? I don't want to go deep. Thank you.
Thank you. Sami Yafe.
Excellency, good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Sami Yafe. I work with CTFM and Channel 1 TV. So a few meters away from us is the site for the construction of the National Cathedral. We know huge sums of money have been sunk into the project. What will you do about it if or when you become president of this country? Thank you very much.
Excellency, please take these questions and then.
Thank you very much. Let me take them in the order in which they were asked. I think that the first question had to do with NAPCO, the Nation Builders Corps, and the arrears that have been owed to NAPCO. I think that the program had about 100,000 people on it. And I think initially it was supposed to be a 3-year program, and then would be renewed and so on. But I think that so far, out of the 100,000 that were taken, 34,000 have exited into permanent jobs under NAPCO. And the others are still. But I think that the issue that Bella raises is the arrears and how we are going to deal with it. I've raised this issue because this is not really, there's some information that has come to me already about the arrears in the NAPCO program, and I've raised this issue with the Minister for Finance and trying to persuade them to make these arrears payments. So we will follow that up on behalf of the NAPCO employees. The second issue had to do with providing better health care in the manifesto and the issue of cars and how these will affect local companies. I think that what is very clear when you look at the manifesto is that we did not really say it was only for imported. The incentives would only be for imported vehicles, because you just said you will provide incentives. Clearly, under President Kufuor, there were incentives for healthcare workers and also for teachers to bring in vehicles, and they will waive the import duty, and that basically worked but was abused. We think that with digitalization and the unique identity of people, we can better monitor this situation. But the issue is that we need to be able to see how these teachers and these nurses could also acquire with the necessary incentives from the local manufacturing companies. I mean, as you know, the numbers of teachers and nurses are very, very large relative to the production capacity of some of the firms here. But we are leaving that open to discuss with them and with the manufacturing companies here to see how we can incentivize. Our preference clearly is to buy local. And so we will work with them to see how best, if they can meet the terms in terms of production on time and all of that. I think we will try to incentivize them. But we will leave it open for discussion, and that's what we've done. The other issue was that we wanted to do these tax reforms, import duty, flat tax, tax amnesty, and so on. But why don't I do it now? And why do I want to? I must have a manifesto. Otherwise, if I do everything now, if I could, what would I do when I come into office? I mean, how can you do everything now? Even President Mahama, former president, who was president, I'm only vice president, but he was president. Why didn't he do everything then? I mean, why is he coming back? He had full authority. I don't have full authority. The budget that has gone to Parliament, which has been passed, is not my budget. Is it my budget? It's not my budget. The budget goes in the name of the president. It doesn't go in the name of the vice president. But when you have to think about what new do you want to do, you come up with new ideas. And I've come up with new ideas, which I want to do when we come into office. Everyone who is running for office, whether you are Kamala Harris or you are Bawumia, you still have to think about what you have to do when you get into office. And this is why I'm presenting my new ideas as to what to do. Samson talked about the scholarship students and all of that. And I think this is a very, very important issue. There's nothing more heart-wrenching than taking a student abroad and not being able to take care of them in those circumstances. And I think that I believe, and this is what we are saying, that one needs to, first of all, harmonize these databases so that you have full visibility and transparency. And also, we have undertaken in the manifesto to publish all the beneficiaries of all of these scholarships as they come, so that everybody knows who is getting the scholarships and so on. And again, I've been made very aware of this issue. It's not new, because students have and parents have gotten in touch with me about the awards and the scholarships and so on. So we're talking with the Ministry of Finance and the Scholarship Secretariat. I think they were able to make some payments to some of the UK students and so on. But we will follow up on that because it's very urgent. Cocoa Board is on the verge of collapse. I'm not aware of that, but we'll look at that. I cannot comment on that. It's not. I don't know where the data is coming from. Then the National Cathedral. National Cathedral, again, is a very, very important issue because I mean, taxpayers' money has gone into it, and many people would like to see it. Believe that one should have an engagement with the churches and all the stakeholders for us to see how best to get the churches and the church leaders and the discussions that we should have with them on the way forward. But I think it's an important issue. Thank you.
Can clear that one then.
Yes, the pharmacists are my very good friends. But you're talking about the Ministry of Health for their allowances. Again, I want to take this one up. This is the first Sheldon who raised it. I'm not aware of it, but I think it's an important issue that we should really resolve.
Boss, I believe.
Hello. Good evening, Mr. Vice President. Before I go to my question, I'd like to draw your attention to the sad issue